This film will be entitled Culture and Nature, and the politics, which is not the most important thing in the world, politics. We theoretically we know that in our daily lives, but we act as if we didn't know it. So when we are asked what is happening in the world, we usually say politics. We say that Trump something, Putin something, European Union something. In our hemisphere, in our part of the world, in this northern hemisphere, it's sometimes about China something, and it's understandable. It's not bad, but it's we mainly say this. And when we ask about things that are important to us, we usually say something about God and politics again. But when we are asked about what is worth preserving in the world, it's usually culture and nature. Culture and nature. So it's a funny and interesting contradiction here, that we tell different stories when we are asked those two questions: what is happening in the world and what's worth preserving. So politics and God, because God is connected with politics. I never understood one thing, that people can really kill each other in the discussion, at least, about God, about politics. And I can sum up politics in maybe 5 sentences, and that would be practically all of that. For instance, first sentence: if Trump will win if Americans are more scared of the left, radical left, than of him. If he wins, second sentence, if he wins, then the right-wingers over the world win over the left-wingers. Most of advanced countries today are democracies, so that will be it. So it's kind of important, and that's why I covered this problem, and I'm interested in American elections. So America is the most dominant culture in the world also, so that's also important, and the military force and the economy. And the question number 5, good politics. We want good politics, but what is good politics? If all kings were like Frederick the Great, then monarchy would be answer, and at best, and the best would be the absolute monarchy, because why some fools would stop him doing good things, right? So yeah, that's basically politics. Okay, now God. Okay, now God. We cannot deny or confirm the existence of the deistic God. I'm not talking about religious God, I'm not talking about Christian God, I'm not talking about the God that makes miracles, because there are no miracles, right? But the God who creates the world and then it's absent and then leaves it all to the man is not to be ever confirmed, not to be ever denied, the presence of whom. So yeah, so why we want God or don't not want God in our lives, I will tell you. I'm atheist. That means not that I know that God does not exist, because I don't know. It means that my psychology is better working with the assumption that there is no God, because nobody is interfering in the normal business of the space, of the universe, right? So that's why I'm atheist. But some people are more comfortable with the idea that there is some force, maybe not a being, but a force that is taking care of us a little bit, and caring about us, generally speaking, right? So That would be it. What's more to add? Nothing much. So when we are asking what is happening in the world and what is your way of life, what do you think about life, we usually God, politics, 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 God, politics, God, 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 politics. And when we are asked different question, what is worth preserving in life, it's usually culture and nature. That's interesting, right? And about culture and nature you could speak and think endlessly. You have so many things to think about. For instance, I never understood why the people are so obsessed with knowing the cause number one of the universe, the how it all started and what was God present at that and so on. It's so contradictory to the idea of being glad of being alive, of being happy of being alive, of being happy on living on the earth. Because you are happy when you are more, when your attitude is more descriptive, when you are collecting different cultural and natural items. And I think that there is no contradiction whatsoever, no border between culture and nature, by the way, but about it a little later, because you can really enjoy being alive when you are collecting the information about culture and nature, from astronomy to Mozart's concerts. And there is no real contradiction between culture and nature, because culture is the biology of man. We are both natural and cultural, and I have the impression that the left-leaning persons are usually more nature-oriented, and the people on the right are more culture-oriented. People on the left are reminding us all the time that we are animals. We need food. We need this. We need that. And people on the right are reminding us that we need ideas, inspirations, patriotism, something that the animals don't have. By the way, it's not entirely true. The chimpanzees have some sort of patriotism, a little bit. But we don't really know so much about animals, by the way. So there's the good idea to study that, right? No real border between nature and culture. Culture is the nature of man. People who are, and I know this from many talks with many people, that people who are treated by men more often fairly than unfairly, they tend to support culture more. And sometimes we think that there is some contradiction, that people of nature, they usually think, oh man, and all this fake phony culture, and it means only that he will pave everything with concrete, and the poor animals and plants will suffer as usual. That's not entirely true, right? It's an exaggeration. We try to do the world a better place, after all. Sometimes we manage, sometimes not. And it's also the people of culture. I also know this type, that they are, well, bloody insects. And in insects they also include, in bugs, in the group of bugs, they also include not only insects and such, but invertebrates, but also reptiles, amphibians. It's all bugs. Bleh. And only what man is doing is worthwhile. So I see no contradiction. I wanted to study biology, maybe paleontology, and I love dinosaurs, and I love both nature and culture, and I see no contradiction. I'm not so willing to study the first cause. It's a little bit like conspiracy theory to me. I want more to explore the world, to see how rich it is. More descriptive, more collecting, attitude. So I wanted to study biology for a long time, and I was interested very much, and I still am, in animals, in animal behavior, in the behavior that could be the behavior of the extincted animals, of prehistoric animals also. And so, but I'm also extremely interested in singing, music, culture, and so on, history, of course. I'm a historian. And just yesterday I watched one film about comedian harmonists. This was the boys band, the jazz boys band that was split by the Nazis, because half of this team, half of this band were Jews, and this is also a nice example of how people manage their affairs usually. That we can literally kill a good team, a good something, because of politics and because of the narrowness of our mind. And the Aryan, the German part of the band, started a new band in Germany. They just took 3 more colleagues, and it was called, I think it was called Musiksextett or something like this, and or Musikalisches Sextett, because the English sounding names were verboten. And the Jewish part emigrated to the USA and also took 3 new colleagues, and they called them comedy harmonists, not more comedian harmonists, but now comedy harmonists. And both those new bands never reached a level which is at least close to, they were never close to the original comedian harmonists, which is probably one of the best, maybe the best boys band ever. And I also am interested in many kinds of history. I cannot really understand people who are obsessed with one epoch, with one era, with one genre of music, for instance. For me, the Madonna's "Like a Virgin," for instance, it's a wonderful piece of music. It's for instance, these first words of the chorus. It's of refrain. It's like a virgin touched for the very first time, like a virgin with your heartbeat next to mine. This is a wonderful piece of music, and this I hate ABBA, for instance, maybe except of knowing me, knowing you, blah 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 blah. Yeah, but so, and I hate Chopin, for instance, most of Chopin, and I love Handel and Bach and Mozart. I see no contradiction between the high music and the popular music. There is really no such thing. Jazz is Baroque newborn. Jazz is Baroque newborn. This is a polyphonic music, full of life, like Baroque was. Baroque, right? Baroque with Bach and Handel. So many people think that Handel and Bach really, especially Bach, invented jazz to some extent, and that's true. That's true, by the way. So, but even if you are not about, I'm also not crazy about this division between polyphony and homophony. It's also not a very good thing to be obsessed about. So I prefer polyphony because it's more engaging my ears. But and I like to, but I also like to sing, for instance, patriotic songs of many nations, were usually from the 19th century, and are usually homophonic, and I have nothing against that. I am extremely in awe always when I listen to The Pleasure of the Plains, for instance, of Handel, and I'm equally totally affected in a good way when I'm hearing, for instance, onward Christian soldiers marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus walking on before, and I'm atheist, and I don't mind it, because it's beautiful. So, okay, to sum up, we are really, as the species, we are too obsessed with knowing uh, the first reason of everything, knowing the first cause of everything, and we don't see how rich the world is, how engaging it can be. I see it also when I see the comments and the number of the count of views on my channel. When I sing politics and when I sing God, something about God, when I'm talking politics, saying something about God, then I have much more interest coming. And I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Because at least with the descriptive part of the human activity, we can really say something about something. We can really, yeah. When we are trying to answer which kind of government is the best, and if the God, the deistic God, can be real, can be just a fantasy. The deistic God, the not interfering God. So, yeah. So maybe instead of thinking what is happening in the world, we should more often thinking what should be preserved. That's a good question, I think. Yeah. Okay. As usual, it's not so easy to bring your thoughts together in the foreign language, even in English or German, but I will not do it in German because it would have, or French or any other language, I think, because it I don't really see a point. Maybe another time of doing this kind of things in several languages. In Swedish it could be problematic besides, but I could in some languages do something like that, and I don't see really point. The point is to share these thoughts, and I hope most of people who visit my channel will understand either Polish or English version. So let us be more wide perspective, not the conspiracy theory obsessed people.